I'm Jordan from Mickey Mom Blog, and I want to talk to you today about how we save money on our Disney trips. Now, there are 4 things that I do on every trip that save us a lot of money, and if we did not do these things, we would not be able to go as often as we do. We usually go 3 or 4 times a year, so that can add up really quickly. I'm going to jump right into it here. The first one is that I check our flights and I try to look at everything. We live in Youngstown, so we can fly out of 3 major airports around us. Just check different airports, even if one's a little bit further. Sometimes they have better deals and you just never know. So my last trip, we decided to fly out of Pittsburgh. That was the cheapest flight I found going, but coming home, we actually flew into Cleveland. And then we had someone drop us off at the airport and pick us up on the back end at the airport. And we saved money on parking also in that case. But you can save a lot of money by flying, kind of taking different routes. And it's a little bit more complicated, but it's really not that big of a deal. You just have to think it through a little more. So when I was trying to find flights into Orlando, they were crazy expensive last time. So I started looking at into Tampa. We've done it before, and I looked into Sanford also. For us, Tampa was the best option. Flights that were normally $300 going into Orlando, I got direct flights into Tampa for $140 a piece. And our return flight ended up being about $80. So we ended up flying into Tampa, and our flights ended up being $250 round trip. And we had to rent a car, so that was like another $100. But even so, our flights were going to be round trip if we flew into Orlando, in and out of Orlando. I was looking at about, oh my gosh, I think they were almost 700. So you can save a lot of money. You just need to look around and figure out what the best deal is. It does take a little bit of extra effort on your part, but I think it's worth the savings. Our last trip, I saved us about $1,000. That's a lot of money. So a lot of money that can go really far in Disney specifically. So just think about that, weigh your options. Also, something to keep in mind is flying into Tampa or Sanford, you're about an hour to Orlando. But when you fly into Orlando, even if you're taking the Magical Express, you're still going to walk down there. You're going to probably wait. I mean, you could wait anywhere from 15 to 20 minutes to even get on a bus. But, I mean, we've gone down there and also walked right on a bus before. It just kind of depends. Or you can get on a bus and wait another 15 minutes or another 20 minutes. You really don't know. I mean, with travel in general, you don't know what really to expect. Anything can happen. Delays come up. I mean, it's just travel. So, and then once you get on that bus even, you're going to drive either 25 to 45 minutes to your resort, depending on how many stops, how many people are on the bus. It just all, there's just so many variables there. So you don't know. And I always plan on the fact that when we get off the plane, it's going to take us about 2 hours till we get to our resort, just to add cushion in there. It could take less, but it's a bonus if it takes less to me. But same thing when we landed in Tampa, I knew from the time that we got off the plane, I could bank on 2 hours. So the other way that we save a lot of money, and this is probably the biggest one for us, is ordering our groceries. Now, another thing to keep in mind is that we stay at DVC resorts. At most of the DVC resorts, if you are staying in not at most of them, at all of them, if you're staying in a 1-bedroom villa or 2-bedroom and up, whatever, all those ones, except for the studios, you're getting a fridge, an actual full-size fridge, and like a stove, microwave, all those things. So you definitely want to be ordering groceries. We didn't do this for the longest time. A few places deliver, and now with Instacart, a ton of places deliver. So really download Instacart and look at what your options are. I think even places like Walmart will deliver, Aldi's, you can get CVS. If someone gets sick in your family and you don't have a car and you just need some medicine, you can get that delivered to you. I mean, you're going to pay a delivery fee, but to me, it's cheaper than getting an Uber having the Uber sit outside or having to call a second Uber, whatever you're going to do. It is a lot cheaper. So definitely download Instacart before you go, and you will save a lot of money. And what we get most of the time is things like water. We'll get like 3 cases of water depending on how many people we have. We get milk and snacks to eat back at the room, or snacks to bring into the park too. You can bring food into the parks. People don't realize this, I think, a lot of times, but you're allowed to bring food into the parks. You're not allowed to bring alcohol in, but we'll take a collapsible cooler about this big, and I'll freeze water bottles. And in the mini fridges in the studios, that's what we usually get. they do have a mini fridge, and the mini fridge can fit a gallon of milk in. Specifically the ones at Boardwalk, I know for a fact do. I had to take out a shelf to put it in, but the mini fridges are bigger than the average hotel mini fridges in my opinion. So if somebody else maybe has stayed at one of the other ones and didn't have that experience where they thought the mini fridge was really small at a Disney hotel, let me know just so I'm able to kind of give that information back to people, because we do not stay at non-DVC resorts because we use points when we stay. So if you have stayed at, Caribbean Beach or any of the other resorts, just give me an idea if the mini fridges are also a decent size, or if you find that they're smaller like they are at, normal hotels. But what I'll do is I'll take the mini cooler, and in the mini fridge, it has a little like ice box kind of on the top. So I'll put a couple waters up there, get them really, really cold. And ideally my mom, she stays in a 1-bedroom villa with some of my other family members. So we'll use her fridge and freeze them generally. But if, somehow we're not gonna be with them or whatever, I will do the next best thing is to put them in there, get them as cold as possible. And I use those kind of as my ice. And I'll put that in the mini coolers, fill it up with whatever food. I'll freeze too, Go-Gurt sometimes, peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. Not necessarily freeze them, but get them really, really cold. String cheese, just things that you'll find in the park that your kids are gonna want because it's sitting there in front of them. There's things that my kids ask for when we're in Disney that they would never ask for at home that we have sitting in our pantry, but because we're in Disney and it's on the board there for snacks, they want it. So if you can bring it in with you and you're not paying $4 or $3 for a bag of chips, bring it in with you and save some money. So we will bring in a cooler like that. And once we get in, even if it's really hot or whatever, I'll just go up to the front to a quick service and I'll ask for a cup of ice or whatever and throw that in the bag. You're not allowed to bring loose ice into the park, and like going through security and stuff, they won't let you bring it in. But once you get in, you can put it in, and then once you leave, if you're going to be heading to another park, just dump it out and redo the whole thing again. And you should be having less and less stuff. Like at the beginning of the day, you're going to have all these waters and snacks. You're going to lighten your load as the day goes on because people are going to be eating them. So that is a huge way that we save money, though. I mean, you can look at the fact that a bottle of water in Disney is about $3, and you can get from quick service. They'll give you free water, just like in a cup. But I don't know. I kind of like the bottled water, and we'll do the like lemonade Crystal Light little pouch thingies and dump it in. You can, flavor the water for the kids. We'll do fruit punch for them, whatever. Just half the time they don't actually want the things on the these snacks or whatever. They ask for them, and then they take a bite and it gets thrown away or whatever. So we've just come around to bringing them. They don't care, and it saves us a ton of money. No, we get our food. We don't bring that in for us, but just how it is with kids. So that is a huge money saver. The other thing that we do that not necessarily, it might not work for you if this is a one-time trip, but if you plan on going to Disney more than once, and I think my best example would be if you're going for Easter this year falls in April. Now let's say next year, I don't know if this is true, but let's just say next year it fell in March. An annual pass is good from the day that you walk into a park to the next year. So if you went in April for Easter, it will still be good in March. So instead of paying twice to get into the park, you pay one time and you're paying more up front, but you do have a lot more flexibility having an annual pass, and you do get some discounts too. So let's just say, I don't know that these prices are correct at all, but just for argument's sake right now, let's just say being in the park is $100 a day. You got a 5-day pass, that's $500. And I don't think that would include a hopper option either. So I'm not sure exactly what a 5-day pass is, but let's just say for argument's sake, it's $500. Now, if you're going to go next year too, in March, and it's another $500 to go for 5 days, you're at $1,000. I know that one of the season passes is $1,000. I can't remember which level it is, but they have all different levels. We get a discount with our season passes and park tickets too sometimes, so it's hard for me to keep these numbers straight, and Disney's constantly changing and raising their prices. But look into it if you are going to go. And the other thing is, once you have that season pass, you have so much flexibility. So when we would book flights and we didn't have season passes, it was, okay, well, let's get into the park. We want to make sure if we're getting a morning flight out that we're going to be able to get in the park and be able to spend the whole day there, because we're paying for that day. We want to get our money's worth out of it, or any day going to the park, really. You want to spend a good amount of time in the park because you're paying a lot of money to be there. Now, if you have a season pass, it is not so stressful. Okay, so we don't go into the park today till 2:00. and we can kind of relax, maybe hang at the pool, then go into the park. And it's not so much go, 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 we need to get our money's worth. And you can kind of extend the trip. Maybe you don't go into the park every day, but you take a half pool day and you do dinner in the park. It's a little bit nicer, I think, being able to have that flexibility. And the other thing too is we'll look sometimes and see really cheap flights to Orlando on, like Allegiant and Spirit. So you book a cheap flight, find a hotel last minute, get a good, go to Priceline. You already paid for yourself to get into the park, so you might as well just go. It's a really cheap, trip actually once you pay for those things. And again, when you're not paying to spend all this money on food in the park, you can save a lot of money just with those two things alone. So just look into it. If you do plan on going more than once, think about getting an annual pass. And again, you get discounts at restaurants and merchandise. I think merchandise you get 20% off, and food, and you might get, I think 10% off. So you get those discounts at various places, not necessarily every place, but just ask them if they take an annual pass discount, and you can save money there too. So another way to save money is by renting DVC points from people. And not necessarily you'll save money actually, but you will stay at a nicer place and spend less money. You can go to dvcrental.com, look on his website. It'll break down how many points you're going to spend to stay at, say, Animal Kingdom, and it'll show you the dollar amount instead. So I think I've looked before, and for a studio per night, and again, these things change because points change. Peak season is more points, and it does vary, so don't quote me on the exact numbers here. But I've seen before where you could get a room at Animal Kingdom, a studio, for about like $100 to $120 a night. And if you look at the fact that I think Art of Animation is around $130, to me, you're better off trying to stay at the a DVC resort, because you do get a little extra there. And if you have a villa, like I said, you're going to be able to get a kitchen with it. So that's where the groceries really do come into play, and you can save a ton of money that way too. One more thing that is something that we do not do that saves us a lot of money is we do not do a bunch of dining reservations. Most of our food, we do quick service. And a lot of times, like me and my husband will split a quick service meal, because you do get decent sized portions of Disney. It's expensive, but I think you get your money's worth when you get food at Disney. So a lot of times we'll split food, and then if we're still hungry, we'll add an extra side to it or whatever. You can order things a la carte at quick services. We do not do a lot of sit down dinners. That can add up really quickly. And I find having reservations if you're going to do a sit down, most likely you have to have a reservation. It's really hard to just walk up to a Disney restaurant and get seated. They generally will laugh at you when you say that. But we don't really bother with it. We might do one table service a trip, and that's pretty much it, because those things do add up quickly. And if you are doing a buffet, I recommend doing the latest lunch seating you can, because you will pay lunch pricing, but at some point they switch over to the dinner menu. And not that they don't really vary that crazy from lunch to dinner, but there will be things that'll change out. So it's a good way to save money, and you're eating later in the day, so then maybe you get a smaller dinner that night. So you can save a lot of money that way by not having a character meal or having, those table service every day. And breakfast is the other one that is a huge money saver too, that I think a lot of people just assume to go to a quick service to get breakfast or to do a character meal for breakfast. I think that breakfast is the cheapest one if you're gonna sit down and eat one of those things. So if you are gonna do a character one, a breakfast one isn't a bad idea. I just personally don't like to eat a ton of food in Disney and then go walk around the parks. I would rather eat a bigger dinner probably and then be ready to end the night more so than start off my day completely full and stuffed. And if you're going to those buffets, you most likely want to get your money out. They're not cheap, so just keep that in mind. I think that none of us are big breakfast people, so we will just eat breakfast in the room. And if you look at the fact that even if you're getting quick service or table service, you're spending about, anywhere from $10 to maybe $25 a person on breakfast. So those things are really big money savers if you're able to. And the other thing to think about too is if you have all these reservations, you're in Disney to go on the rides and enjoy the parks themselves. I mean, you have to eat too, but you are constantly, I mean, one meal could take you what, an hour and a half to 2 hours possibly, especially character ones, because you do want to get that time in with the characters, get autographs, get pictures. They are a little bit slower. So if you're spending even minimum an hour on a meal, that's 3 hours out of a park day, and that's very little time being at a sit-down dinner. So that's a lot of time out of your park day. So just think about that too. So I hope you guys are able to use some of these tricks to save money on your next trip. If there are any questions, just, email us or whatever you want to do. The easiest way to get a hold of me is Instagram, at Mickey Mom Blog. I will respond pretty quickly on there. I try to keep up with everything. Thanks for watching, and be sure to subscribe below and follow us on Instagram at Mickey Mom Blog.